You're now tuned into the hottest podcast in the world, the Stay Woke Podcast, right here on the SonicBreakdown.com.
Welcome back to another Stay Woke Podcast. This is D. Ray Brinson, and you know the Stay Woke Podcast is presented by the SonicBreakdown.com. We have Reddy in the building today.
Hey, thank you for having me on this wonderful day.
And if it's just me and Reddy, you probably know what that podcast is going to be about. So today's podcast is going to be about IronFist.
Yeah.
The Netflix show IronFist that I don't think it's been out even a month yet. What, 3 weeks maybe?
About, yeah.
Okay. So we're going to give our opinions on it, what we thought about it initially, did it change, and then we're going to end with, actually I'm not even going to let you know what we're going to end with. You'll find out. All right, so let's start. What was your, we've already talked about that, we were already excited about it on other podcasts, so we know that we were anticipating it. What were your feelings after you saw the first episode?
I felt promise.
Oh,
to
I
be
felt
honest,
the opposite. I felt
I felt promised because I was like, okay, you know, most of the other ones start off kind of slow. I didn't really like the guy playing Danny Rand, but I was like, okay, they could pull it together because all he reminded me was a dirty hippie.
I'm talking about Finn Jones. That's the actor.
Finn Jones. I was like, okay, he can get better. You know, he can fill the role of being, playboy as well as, you know, this dude that's the Iron Fist. And I had faith. I had faith.
My first instinct on the first show was I thought the storyline was progressing fine. The story itself was interesting because I do know about Iron Fist. I know his powers, but I didn't, and I know his origin, but I didn't know the details like I do with Black Panther, like I do with Iron Man, like I do with Thor.
Right.
You know, the normal.
He's to me, he's like that CD list superhero. Like when the world is ending, you don't really go to Iron Fist, but when you need to take down a magical kingpin or somebody, in a neighborhood crime boss that has, power, you go to him and his crew.
Yeah.
And that part I liked. One of the things I talked to my coworker with I felt they did this better than in most of the other ones. The biggest credit I gave to this movie was this TV show was it showed a little bit more realism with who he was. It wasn't the Walker Texas Ranger concept. You know what I'm saying?
No.
He got his ass whooped consistently. I mean,
but that doesn't make sense.
I agree. That's different. No. That part is different. I agree.
But it's not real. But it's not realistic in the world that he's in.
That part I agree with. I was just talking about in reality. If we took all the magic out of this, just in a regular street fight.
Then if it's in reality, it still wouldn't make sense. Somebody that's been training for 13 years nonstop.
You would hope he wouldn't get his ass.
No. You wouldn't. No, there's no hoping. There is no hoping. Anybody that trains for 13 years nonstop, 15, whatever. That's even worse. That's 2 more years. 15 years nonstop. And against people that don't fight on a regular basis come on. That's nowhere near
I agree
realistic.
with that part just because that's one of my biggest disappointments that I was telling everybody was he's supposed to be the Laotian Kung Fu, Jackie Chan, Jet Li. He's supposed to be like the ultimate badass, Bruce Lee like S dude, and literally he gets his ass whooped against regular grunts. And I know this is supposed to be the beginning of his origin story, but to me it was too. He almost seemed like he wasn't a Kung Fu master. Even though they said that's the one thing he didn't master, even though he didn't master the Iron Fist through the show. But it seemed like he didn't even master how to fight.
I would say, for going back to the first episode, for me, like I said, I like the story. I didn't like the acting, but I thought it would progress and he would, it's just like the pilot in most TV shows. The first episode is really not good. And it's not that the story isn't good or the screenwriting or the writing or the direction. It's just more of the actors getting comfortable with each other, getting the chemistry and finding, how to play off each other. Mm-hmm. So that's what I thought with the first episode, and I thought it would progressively get better.
I had faith.
At least in Finn Jones' acting. Progressing, I still do enjoy the story. I thought it was a good story. I thought it was well written. I thought the dialogue was okay, but again, the acting of Finn Jones really is what pulled me down because he was very 2-dimensional to me. I needed a breadth of character, especially from going from Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, because all of those main characters had very dense, complex storylines and had very dense, complex internal battles within themselves, and all 3 actors played those internal battles so well.
Yeah.
And they were all 3 different internal battles, but they all had internal battles within themselves. And that's why when Claire made that line towards the end, which we'll get to later, about, I've dealt with other superheroes and they've all been in dark places.
It's been pretty fucked up.
Yeah. So like he didn't get that from me, and that's what that's what to me sets the
bar.
The Marvel, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil apart from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., things of that nature, is because that elevated level of acting. And I'm not taking anything away from the actors on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or those type of shows. It's just I felt like the level of acting, the level of directing, it really felt like it was, each episode felt like a mini movie, and not a mini movie made for TV, a mini movie made for theaters.
Right.
And I didn't get that, and I don't get that when I watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't get that when I watch some of these other superhero shows like The Flash, DC Legends.
Yeah.
I really don't mess with.
Netflix make sure they put in that money, that time, the effort to find the perfect person for the perfect character.
Where you really get involved in that role, like that's why I have to disagree with you about that. It felt like the world, because in those other ones, Luke Cage, I felt like I was in Harlem. Daredevil, you felt like you was in Hell's Kitchen. You felt like you understood the community outside of Daredevil, the main character, and I wasn't getting that with Iron Fist.
But I think that was more because of the convoluted nature of this Netflix writing. Because you said you liked the story. I personally kind of got to disagree. I don't know. Maybe it goes back to what you were talking about, the character. But I felt like the story was really about a whiny bitch.
That's why I disagree. That's why I say I disagree, because if you listen just to the dialogue, he's saying complex, convoluted, in-depth things,
but
that's what makes the words come to life.
And that's why I said that maybe it's him as the character, because I love Colleen.
That's what I'm saying. I even love the stepdad.
You know, the dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she pulled me in. Colleen pulled me in. I felt
from the beginning. You felt the badassery of who she was.
You felt that, but you also felt her vulnerability. You also felt when she was in that fight scene, the loss of control. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's the depth of emotions that she portrayed.
And the other reason why I kind of
he
agree
didn't
with
do
you,
that.
Yeah,
it was very two dimensional. It's either he was upset and angry, or he was calm and it wasn't even. But it wasn't even it didn't even feel real zen to me.
It didn't. It felt forced, because like the thing that I've been saying to multiple people is the Iron Fist is supposed to be like, he's that annoying friend that always comes up with some really like insightful, Confucian-esque concepts where you'll go to him for advice, because he's supposed to be that master of Zen. That's the whole point of who he was. He's a chi master, and with him you didn't have that. You only had. That's why I said he lost
control too much
through the whole episode.
Every episode it felt like he lost control, and it's like, dude, you were in Kung Lung, and these are not the worst. These are they treated you worse there than you are getting here, and you're losing control. Like, it doesn't. Now I can understand if you're having, like I said, the internal battle, and that's what I felt like this show. Dialogue, or the series dialogue wise had, because if you just listen to what he's saying, he had the actual Zen things and he was saying the right thing,
but he couldn't pull it off.
But he couldn't pull it off with his acting, because there's scenes where he's saying things where like he is supposed to be in that peaceful Zen, but he's showing anger and aggression, and it's supposed to be calm. But then because inside you're angry and you're using your external energy to calm the inner beast, like Davos did with that scene with Claire,
where he quickly changed up.
He quickly pulled it together and that's what I'm saying. That he did better acting of showing that level of Zen.
What if we still talking about the beginning of the series of shows? Around like episode 4 to 5, I started having the feeling of him being a whiny bitch. But I was like, okay, I can see the turnaround. Like I had faith in. It's the beginning of the series. They're still trying to flesh out, who he was. And I was like, it had to change. And I never got that up until literally, I'm not even going to talk about how I felt, but up to the last episode, I was still hoping of the whiny bitch to leave. And I there was parts like you said, there was that he had deep moments, but as a whole, I felt like they may have changed the story, either like you said, for the acting, because he couldn't portray the level that we needed, and they already had him as a contract or whatever. But him as the Iron Fist never sold it to me. He could have been like Spawn, like somebody that was dark brooding and that couldn't get out of his own mindset. But to me, it wasn't Iron Fist. Like I told my coworker, I felt like it should have been called Danny Rand instead of Iron Fist, because we got the little whiny child version of him the whole time, and we never really got Iron Fist. And even with Daredevil season 1, Jessica Jones season 1, and Luke Cage season 1, you saw the name. And what I mean by the name, you knew Daredevil was Daredevil by the end. You knew Jessica Jones. If you knew anything about her, she acted like Jessica Jones. Luke Cage showed his name throughout from beginning to end, but through the whole thing, I was waiting for Danny Rand to become Iron Fist, or to show that glimpse he could be Iron Fist, and it never hit.
I can see that. I want to go back and touch on some of the other supporting characters as well as because I feel like they should get their due too, because it's not, they're supporting, like, so I want to go Colleen Wing, Jessica Henwick. I think she's really beautiful.
Oh my God.
And to be real, like, it's not like I want to say like superstar or like anything that you feel like it's unattainable.
But it's real shit.
It's real.
Yeah.
And she portrayed that role very well. And if you're out there, Jessica Henwick, I think you did a very good job in that role. It was believable. To me, you stood out more than Finn Jones.
And baby girl, remember, my name is Ready because I'm always ready.
And I am not seconding that. So if you ever are interested in doing an interview, he won't be here because that was weird. Rosario Dawson, Claire, I do want to touch on that. I think that was a nice touch to have her
Before
included.
we go to Claire, let me talk about Colleen for a second though. Because you're sexy and all, whatever. Besides that, as an actor, who she played and how she played the role was, to me, phenomenal. Like, she helped draw me in when I was not feeling, the Iron Fist. She was there. I always saw her as that awesome samurai chick that, like, she had a strong female lead. She had a strong personality. I would like to have seen if I didn't know
she
who
had
Iron
more
Fist
zen
was.
and more calm than he did.
All the time. All the time. And
even in the scene where she loses her shit, well, there's really two scenes where she really loses it. When she's fighting the second time.
Okay.
And when she fights, not when she fights, but Davos, when they find her at the compound.
Okay.
And he's yelling at her saying she's still part of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
And those are both situations where you can understand her losing her shit.
Yeah. But she sold losing her shit.
But I'm saying she sold it. As well as she pulled it in though. And
the dude you called, what you said, his name's Finn?
Yeah, Finn Jones.
To me, his anger was more psychotic. It wasn't, he was telling to me that he was going through psychosis. Like, I work in mental health, and I swear I wanted to get him mental health help. It wasn't that I didn't see anger. I saw psychosis. With her, it was actual anger. It was rage. She had that range of emotion that you want to see in a good actor. Actress. She showed love. She showed happiness. She showed surprise. She showed anger. She brought it around where you were just like, yo, that's the chick I would like in my life if I was a superhero. She had his back from beginning to end, and she sold that feeling of even remorse when things happen in the show.
Now that I was looking at the cast again, I think, because I read on Twitter about Louis Tan, he was supposedly, he auditioned to play Iron Fist. He was the drunken guy guarding the door. Remember that did like Drunken Monkey style? That
would have been dope, but they had to get a white guy.
No, I think he should have played that role.
I think he would have.
I think he would have
been more
better.
diverse. But they had to get a white guy for Danny Rand.
No, they don't have to do nothing. If they can make Doctor Strange a white man, they can make Danny Rand half Asian, because he's half Asian. So they could have made the mom Asian.
Yeah. But you know how,
and then the dad's still white, or vice versa.
Whitewash the hell out of everything. I mean,
so no, there's no excuse. If that was the reason why they picked him, which I'm not saying it is, I don't know. Then it's horrible. It's horrible casting. The other guy, we had more depth in the little scene that he had playing a drunken guy.
He was cool. I love his drunken fist. By the way, it was dope.
And he was more athletic, more built, because he does train.
Mm-hmm.
This guy never had any martial arts training. Like, that's the other thing, is like the fighting scenes were not good.
You didn't like his fighting scenes at all?
No, to me, his fighting scenes were not good. They did a very good job editing it and making sure that they picked shots so that it didn't highlight his lack of skills. Because Colleen, I don't know if she trained or not, but she looked like she was ready. She was ready.
Yeah.
Louis Tan, even the guy that played Harold, he seemed,
his couple fight scenes.
Yeah, even him hitting the boxing bag seemed more realistic because
than Danny fighting to you
than me. And again, I finished the show. I will still watch season 2 because again, I liked the story and I liked the progression, as well as I like comic shows anyways, and I didn't know as much as I know now about Danny Rand than I did before.
Okay.
Even though they didn't give as much as I was hoping.
Yeah, I was hoping for more of that. More,
but it is more than I knew.
Okay.
So for me now, if I was coming from a place of knowledge, I would be disappointed.
The one thing I talked about that we saw in almost every one besides this one, we saw in Luke Cage, we saw his iconic outfit, even if it was for a second. Jessica Jones, they showed her iconic outfit.
They showed his.
A second. When did they show his? I missed his then.
The
only one that I seen was in the old school.
Yeah, but they didn't show him in it, but they showed it.
But they didn't even show the colors of it, where you can like really tell. Like it was one in black and white. You couldn't see that.
I mean, I knew that it was. Tell. I knew that it was a contrast. I knew it was yellow and green, but
because you knew it, though.
But there was a contrast. But it was, you can tell. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know.
In all the other comic books, you got to actually see a full-fledged uniform, the uniform that comic book character has. But in this one was the first one so far on the first season that you didn't get to see what that person looked like in that actual uniform. And then I felt like this one was also too much origin story and not enough character development.
I disagree. I think they showed quite a bit of character development. They just had a different way of presenting it, I think. Because the scene where when we first find out who Madame Gao is.
Okay.
Him going through that trial, all 3 steps of that trial was telling you some process of how he got to be Iron Fist. He indicated how he went through the trials of Kung Lao every day to become Iron Fist. We got the knowledge that he
challenges,
we got the knowledge that he went into a cave and did something with a dragon.
But okay, the reason why I said I don't believe there was much character development.
I mean, that's a lot in a season.
Parts like that were good. Like I enjoyed where they show stuff like that. But I'm talking about he was I won't use it this time. But he had the same level of who he was almost throughout. You didn't see progression in him as a character. To me,
again,
it was
but you being a dead horse. He cannot act. How are you going to show character development if you have no range and emotion to portray? You can't. So the only way you can is through the progression of the story of who the character is and how they got there. Like, because explain to me how you're going to do that.
Because
you have to have an actor.
He is literally the only one that didn't have that progression. Even that's
what I'm saying. Every other character, Joy Meacham, Harold Meacham, Ward Meacham, every single character, every single one.
Yeah,
Budokai or what that that guy. I can't.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I know you're talking about
that guy.
The second hand leader,
Madame Gao.
Yeah,
and she's in a few scenes, and we still see Davos. Every single character had a character development, had range besides Danny Rand.
Yeah, okay.
That to me, and that's why I came up to the conclusion, because in the beginning I was like, well, maybe it's not him. Maybe it's the writing. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the direction.
Try to give him benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, but if you get that from everybody else, that means it's not the actors, so it has to be you. It can't be the screen. It can't be the writing, because how are these other actors, all of them,
doing it and you're not
developing this range without the words being written, and the story is progressing.
Mm.
And that's the only downside that I had to me for this show was, well, but they all stem around him, is the acting and the fighting. Now maybe now that he has an off season,
he can get better.
He can start training more. You know, actually get real training. Actually start working out. Get into in better fighting physique, and develop on his acting ability by taking classes, whatever. Like just working. no, seriously. Like, because you can progress. Some people can do it. Some people can't. To me, like Leonardo DiCaprio progressed to a better actor.
Yeah, from Titanic and Catch Me If You
Yeah,
Can.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there you see that his
development
growth,
of
his growth.
his range.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he developed into a better, but he changed from
Superbad to Moneyball,
and showing that depth, that range. And Wolf of Wall Street. Those were two. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it can happen.
It does have some years, because this doesn't come. Like, I think on the list it's on 2019 or like 2020. So he has a good.
They're taking that many years off,
because they only do 3
Defenders.
years.
That's right.
Because this year we'll have Defenders and we'll have Punisher. Next year will be Jessica Jones, and we'll have Daredevil, and then the year after that will be there's a whole list online that literally shows you the whole list. They only do 3 maximum a year, and then after this year they only do 2 a year, because they want to keep it. They have a 5-year plan.
Okay. But so that's even better for him. He has time to develop these skills.
Does he? Because if Defenders are coming out, I'm assuming he has to be in
but
it.
He's going to be in it. But Defenders is not focused on him.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if I still watch this season with the lack of acting ability that he had because of the strength of the other characters, with Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, already those strong characters, he'll be fine. Bad.
Okay,
he'll be fine. It might highlight his acting skills even worse, but
or they may be able to succumb to get his stuff up,
bring it because they're not. I hope they're not gonna. No, they're not gonna dumb theirs down. And so, but and even if he doesn't bring his up to theirs, they'll be enough to carry the show. That you can just write his parts less and less words, less acting, less solo shots, and more fighting.
And maybe when he gets his actual costume, they can actually have the stunt double.
Exactly. So, I feel like we're beating him up. And again, I don't mean to, but I'm gonna just be real.
I'll go with yours. Let's go back to Claire because you did say you wanted to talk about that. And I'll have a lot to say about her too.
I wanted to say Claire. I like the introduction of Claire. I like that she is the pinchling between all of the Defenders at this point. And I like how they didn't throw it in your face, but they did drop little hints here and here. And then there was the culmination of that line that I mentioned earlier about where she said, I've dealt with superheroes before, not saying which specific ones or how many, but she's had other scenes where she dropped one about Jessica Jones, one about Daredevil, one about Luke Cage with the shirt.
That was one of my favorite when she was like, oh, he looked at the shirt and it has holes, and she's like, was your friend okay? He's probably doing better than you are right now.
But she brought him up a couple of times.
Several times, yeah. Like that time.
Being in love or dating somebody.
Dating somebody with powers, yeah. Like the only one they didn't talk about in a lot, I guess you said a lot of detail would be Daredevil, but I can get why.
But they did talk about Daredevil. She said she knew
as
a lawyer.
Much as like Jessica Jones / Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they had that full history, all the hand stuff that was directly tied to Jessica Jones
as
in
well
Luke
the
Cage,
hospital,
as well as the hospital shotgun blast to the head. But Daredevil, she mentioned him like one time, like there's a blind dude that could fight just as good as you. She said in like the second time they interacted with Danny, like so she brought him up, but it was just like that. Quick, I couldn't go into, which makes sense though. But I love how she is that linchpin where like that's how the Defenders are gonna be formed. Because they even said something about getting a team of people like you. Remember, and that's the perfect combination of I know a whole group of people from Hell's Kitchen to New York like you that will be interested in helping out.
There was I do want to bring in I think that Joy Meacham, Jessica Stroop, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but I think she did a very good job as well. The only issue that I have, and I'm not going to blame it on her as an actor, or maybe it's the screenwriting or the director, is, again, this is kind of fast forwarding towards sort of the final scene.
I know what you're about to say.
And at that point, she knows that her father set up Danny. She knows that her father is not the man that she believed him to be. But yet she still wants to kill Danny.
Yep.
Which
with Davos, I could understand.
No, yeah, Davos, I get it.
He has a perfectly good reason.
He has a vendetta. He has a grudge, and then especially now that the fact that we find out that Kung Lao something has happened to Kung Lao,
and it's gone. Yeah,
as
Kung
a result of him not doing his duty. Of his, like they say, you only got one job, motherfucker. One job, bro.
Guard the path. That's all you had to do.
Can't even do that.
Can't even do that.
So
I get him, but her. That I was going to talk about that because that made me change not about only the feeling, but the acting there felt weird. It felt almost. I felt like when I was watching, it felt that scene was rushed because it literally went from a fight scene between him and Davos. Davos disappears after he almost gets killed. And then the time before that, you see her as basically.
That's why.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I wanted to ask you about that scene is because I don't know the details of Danny Rand. I know that Danny Rand had money. I know he was from a corporation, kind of like Bruce Wayne in essence. But the difference is he didn't use his money to get tech. He used his money to help people.
Yeah.
Were the Meachams or some person or part like that in the comics?
Yeah.
And if so, what would be the motive for her
So in the comic books, it was a little bit more convoluted. So you know how in most of these shows they kind of rush the storyline. So she didn't when she found. So if we just went to the comic book, when she found that her dad was alive, she never found out the direct information of all the evil he did at that point. She didn't see none of it, like the gunshot wound, that whole scene where it was.
Because and that was my other thing is
she knows none of that.
Like she was still giving him that's another thing, and again I don't blame her because that has to be in the writing. Is the scene with her in the hospital with Ward? Logically, let's break this down logically. You just saw your father willing to kill your brother and save you, and it's different than I'm angry because my son tried to get me killed. That type of, but he was just so cold and calculated. That's why I think he did a really good job acting with us.
Yeah,
awesome. He was so cold and calculated, and it was like it wasn't a big deal, and then just instantly switches to loving and endearing. That's some psycho shit.
And multiple times you've seen the random yelling over something simple, or random spurts of rage,
and then the quick switch to,
"Oh, I'm sorry."
Joy. Is, you know what I'm saying? So for her not to listen to what her brother says before he even shows the thing, and then even after that, you still have to go to your father, and he tells you, and then he basically lies in your face and shows you how manipulative and calculating he is, and yet you still. And
credit to her, she showed when she was leaving, she understood that through her acting when she left. So yeah, it wasn't like she left and was still confused. She got it.
Yeah, and so hopefully in season 2 somehow they explain her added motivation for trying to kill Danny, because Danny has literally and there's nothing like she screwed Danny over so many fucking times.
Send him to a insane asylum
so many times, and every time he's done giving her the benefit of the doubt. Every time he's done helped her.
Love.
He even saved her life by coming there knowing that he's gonna get killed, and she knows that. And then her father sets her up after he did that, and he's still like, I'm still cool with you, Joy, and you still want to kill him? Like, it doesn't willing to kill this make sense.
Come on now.
So yeah, that part I didn't get. I just hope that they keep Colleen Wing, because she's a beast. I do want to say also is that
Bakudo's alive.
Yeah, Bakudo's alive, and I think Bakudo. I didn't see his information when I looked it up. I don't know the actor, so I'm sorry, but I think he did a really good job too as well. I thought he made it very believable. I want to ask you though, what do you think about Gao? What do you think? Gao. Yeah, no, Gao is a beast. Gao is a beast. And she's so gangster.
She's so gangster. Like when they even went to the cell after she's been locked in there, she just cool, calm, she ain't even tripping. She's like, she knows. She has that what I call that gangster confidence. When a gangster's in jail and you talk to him and he has a 25-year sentence and you just like, bro, how long you gonna be here? I don't need to get to know your name because I ain't gonna be here long enough. Yeah, she had that kind of mentality. I'm about to be out.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
And then we saw that at the end, which I love. Yeah. Brought it back to the guy when she was sitting right on the other side. Like you knew, first of all, you knew I was gonna get out.
And she's always in the place of to know the no. As Harold said, knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. And I wanted to go back to something. Gal is also the link in each one of them as well.
Yeah, she is. She's
the evil bad guy link in every single movie, in every single series, every single one.
But she did such a good job acting wise too, is because you don't know her intention. Like
she's subtle.
You know that whatever it is going on, that's why she's doing what she's doing. You know it's bad.
Yeah.
But you don't know why and who it's for. Like even when you think you know who it's for, you're like, oh, it's the hand, and then you're like, but Bakudo just try to lock her up.
Right? Why would she lock up on Matt?
But then if she's the hand, why is she helping the Iron Fist? But if she's the hand, why is she working with Harold? If she, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like
she gives you more questions than she answers.
It's not adding up, but it's like you still respect it though.
And then the thing I'm loving a lot more in this one. This is why I like her even more, Gal more, because this time they showed she has power. In no series before did they ever show that she can do anything. Just that she was running shit.
Yeah.
But this one they showed that with that psychic push. When she did it one time, it was real subtle, which is what I love about her character. She's not that bad guy that, you're terrified by, but you really are at the same time. Gal was like, you're terrified of her, but she looks so frail. Like you may even have that stupid thought one time and it get dismissed. Like, I think I could take her. They're like, nah, hell no. Nah, I would never try.
The other thing that I just thought about too is that they drops in there that many people might not see or might not think is in that scene when we're talking about Bakudo, where they have the video. The Iron Fist has 2 Iron Fists.
Yeah.
Both fists are glowing.
Most people think the Iron Fist is just a single concept. Yeah, that's one thing. I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing I was hoping to potentially see by the last episode. When I got to episode 9, 10, when he was originally being trained by Bakudo and you didn't know Bakudo was a hand, and he showed him how to, restore his chi, and he explained, the whole concept of I didn't get
and he heals Colleen. And that's why.
And I loved that. And I was like, okay, that's why it hit me with so much faith right there because I was like, they're gonna show some stuff that's gonna make me happy, and it did nothing.
But
they did nothing.
Yes, they did. They introduced him healing, so now you know that it's possible for him to heal.
No, I'm saying after that episode. No, I'm saying after the episode. We already saw that. We saw the healing, and then once you got refreshed, they left you with that.
The chi, but that gives you an indication because to me that was a great part of the writing because it showed just like they did with Luke Cage, is they showed that even though you have these powers, just like they did with Jessica Jones, just like what they did with Daredevil, is just because you have these powers, everybody's vulnerable to something.
Yes.
To something.
Yep. And speaking of his vulnerability, the cutting off of the chi was
the
dope.
Chi blocker.
Yeah.
And I like how they introduced it, and instantly when he stabbed him,
you knew.
I already knew. I know. I was like, oh, that's a chi blocker. It's a wrap.
Because even his face, back to his acting ability, when he came out with that in his hand, you already knew it was something to fuck up Danny specifically with his Iron Fist.
Yeah, and that's why he was walking slow, but
calmly and precisely.
Calmly precisely with intention.
Yes.
And there was nothing else. It was like, I'm not fighting you. I'm not fighting. I'm not.
I don't need none of y'all. I need you.
Bam, got him.
Yep. And then he stabbed, and then he went back. I loved part of who he was because even after that, he went back to the caring hand member, but I'll kill you quickly because he went there down to dude, you okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I know you tried your best. Thank you for trying your best. And I love it
Protect him. He's our future.
He's our future. So
that constant manipulation.
Bam. And it goes back to what I forgot the other dude said. He breaks you down with trust. Mm-hmm. He gives you nothing but trust. So by the end, if we think about her ex-students, 2 of her ex-students were
turned on her. Yeah.
Turned on her quickly because why would you betray the hand? You're the teacher. You're the one who taught us. And that's when she it really hit her like, dang, I've really been brainwashing these kids and I didn't know it.
Yeah. And that showed for circle. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, the writing was really well done.
It was amazing.
And I feel like it's been like that. And that part is consistent with all of the movie, or I keep on saying movies because that's how good they are. Yeah. All of the series. What I want to talk about as well is let's talk about what we think is going to happen moving forward.
Now, when we say moving forward?
In Iron Fist, not in the Defenders, not in just an Iron Fist.
Prediction for next season, huh?
I think that by next season, Davos and Joy are they're going to be the villains as they already kind of portrayed, but I think they're still going to be manipulated by Gao.
I agree.
But I think the manipulation by Gao is going to be so well played that Joy and Davos won't even realize that Gao is the one pulling their strings. They're going to think
I disagree with one
I think
part.
They're going to think that all of them, kind of like how Harold was pulling the strings for Joy and Ward the whole time until she realized it towards the end. I think it's going to be kind of that same concept, except Ward is going to be Davos, Joy's still going to be Joy, and Harold's going to be Madame Gao from a distance.
I kind of agree, but I disagree. I think the part where I think Gal will be pulling the strings 100%, and they're going to team up to be the bad guys, but I think she's going to be manipulating Joy specifically to manipulate Davos, because the reason why I said that, because you can see Davos want for power. You can see Davos want to become something like the Iron Fist, and he will never work with the hand because that's against his training in every capacity, even if it is to get power. I think Gal is going to manipulate her into showing her some way for him to get power, probably a drug or something where he can match the Iron Fist, and then help her to help him get it so they can fight each other to the death.
I can see that.
But I also think they're going to introduce somebody new. I think they're going to, because I think they're going to show who Gal reports to, because we've seen even.
I don't think so.
I
think they're going to save that for. I think they're going to
save that for the Defenders.
I think I don't even know. I think they're going to save that until the probably the end of the Defenders, like the final scene of the Defenders is going to be kind of similar to this. Except similar where they had like Joy and Davos and then Madame Gao in the background. Instead, it's going to be Madame Gao talking to whoever's the lead, but it's going to be kind of those weird scenes where it's going to be it's not going to be like this, but imagine a desk where you can't see, all you can see is hands, but you can't see the face or anything like that. Kind of like one of those type of scenes. Not
I feel it's going to be
that
in this. I feel in Defenders, it's going to be more on the concept of we're going to see who on a higher level. I feel like, I feel like they're gonna do like an Avengers type with the bad guys.
Because Defenders is gonna be first.
Yeah, I do, and this is not gonna be 2019. So that's why I think they're gonna wait it for the next series of stuff, because they're gonna want to continue to push the envelope. That's why I think they're gonna do that reveal in the Defenders. Okay. So you still don't know who it is, but you know it's somebody. I hope so. Let's see.
Then, because right now they've never given any indication that she's working for anybody.
Yes, they did.
No,
not in this series. I
no. Actually, no, they did in the first
when she was in Daredevil as
when
well
he took the challenge.
In the challenge, in the challenge. Okay, yeah, I missed that.
Somebody agrees.
Yeah, your boss is upstairs. They made that kind of reference that someone's above her. Yeah, so like they've already mentioned it in this one, and they did the same thing in Daredevil season 2. They mentioned that Gal reports to somebody, but they never really make a strong reference or even like you should go see him. It's just like I have a boss too kind of concept. So I think they've been alluding to it. I don't think they'll show it in Defenders, or if it will be the Shadow Defender kind of concept, and then we'll actually see it in like next season for this, because he'll be like the real dude running the hand.
So I'm gonna what if we have to give it a grade, what grade would you give it?
Now okay, I need to get our parameters. Out of, let's say, Marvel TV shows, Marvel or DC, what's a 10 and what's a 1?
In TV shows,
just like Marvel and DC TV shows, or superhero TV shows, it
would have to be.
And we can even rate it by the Netflix ones if you want, if it makes it easier.
Yeah, I'm putting all of them in there. Cause I will say, I'm a hard grader. None of them have gotten an A+.
I'm with it.
So I'd say A- is the highest grade that has been given out so far that I'm going to give. And that would be a tie between Daredevil season 1 and Luke Cage season 1.
For different reasons, I would assume?
Yeah, for different reasons, but they equally
were good.
And I'll put the reasons why. For Daredevil, I just thought that was really well done. I thought Fisk, I can't think of the actor's name, I'm sorry at this time, but that actor, ooh, yo,
he's amazing.
He is amazing. That I believed him, and like I said, with Daredevil, I knew like all the details of Daredevil. Like I knew all the details. So there's nothing that they put in there that I didn't know. But the fact is that they made it so believable. Like I believed if the comic book gave to life, that was that guy.
That was him.
And so
perfect body type, look, attitude, behavior.
Yeah, there were some things that I didn't like about the story that it seemed, I don't want to say a little bit slow, but a little bit forced in Daredevil. That's why I wouldn't give it the A+. And then with Luke Cage, I really liked all the history. I liked the direction. I liked the screenplay. The only thing that I would say that kind of held it back for me is I wanted them to keep Cottonmouth a little bit longer, because I felt like he added so much to that dynamic, as well as the ending wasn't. It was okay to me. I mean, it was still good, but it wasn't. That's what kept it from getting an A+.
Okay.
So that's my A's.
If we went by that, I would have the rank just like, it would be passing. It would be like a C minus.
And what would be your rankings for the other two?
And because
other three?
Like if I wanted to rank them, honestly and truly, I would go with Daredevil first, because I really enjoyed Daredevil. It was a great introduction to the whole world.
Daredevil season 1 or season 2?
I'm going to put the series as a whole.
Nope. You gotta
I gotta do one. Then
because
it would be season 1.
Because that's not fair to the other seasons. Because if you add 2 seasons together, you can get more development.
Season 1 was amazing.
That's what I'm saying. Me too. Season 1 was better than season 2.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. But it was a great introduction. So that's like number 1. Luke Cage second because I like.
What would you give Daredevil though, grade wise?
Daredevil, if it was an actual grade for what I expected, everything, I have to give it like a B. I have to give it a solid B.
So you're not giving no A's.
I can't give it A because my expectations and what I would like to see, and then story driven wise, would always be higher. There's been very few movies and TV shows that I like. I've told y'all multiple times. Very few movies and TV shows that I can give an A to, and so a B is a really high grade for me when it comes to anything like this.
B plus, B minus, just
a straight B.
Okay,
you're average. You're good average. You're a good student. You know what I'm saying? And then Luke Cage, a good solid B.
Okay.
And then I would give Jessica Jones. She on that borderline B minus C plus. Because it was great. It was I loved the character. It was just there's parts about it that I just didn't enjoy, and we can go into that at a later time. I didn't enjoy certain parts, and that was my own preference. And then Iron Fist, there was a lot of parts I didn't enjoy. So that's why I really have to give it that C minus because it was passable. Like you did it where I will watch your season again, but it wasn't what should have been done of what I've been getting to know as a Netflix series and the Marvel series. It could have been way better. It could have been way better from maybe, and it could have all been back to just a predication of who the actor was. If that one aspect was changed, because I did love every aspect of everybody else. So if that maybe was changed, I could probably say maybe a higher grade, but I can't do it. It was just passable. It could do some extra credit.
So I'd give, like I said, A minus to Luke Cage and Daredevil season 1. Jessica Jones gets a B plus. I really like Jessica Jones. I thought it was really well done. I like the psychological aspect of it, and so that's what kept it a B plus. And I think she did a good job acting, as well as the villain. I think he did a good job. Killer Grave. I think he did a good job.
Yeah, it was great.
The introduction of Luke Cage. I might just actually, you know what? I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to give them a 3-way tie.
Okay, and
because it's for different reasons.
What do you give this then?
Oh, this is a C minus.
Okay, so we're in agreement with that.
By that standard, it's a C minus.
It's a C minus.
And now, what I will say though is Daredevil season 2, I'd give it a B minus. I'd have to think about it more, but my instinct is right now saying
it would be tied
a B minus.
It would be tied to me with Iron Fist.
Oh no! Iron Fist
season 2.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Daredevil season 2 is nowhere near.
The reason why okay, so I'll
Punisher was in season 2. Remember that?
No. Don't get me wrong. I love the Punisher.
That's what I'm saying. So you're gonna put it all the way down to.
But the reason why it's tied because I had more expectation about how the first one was.
Because right now, the way we're ranking them, Iron Fist is basically like Batman versus Superman, which you should check out that podcast if you haven't listened to it.
Yeah, I'll give you. Okay, so then
that's what I'm saying. So you're gonna put Daredevil season 2
was better than that.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't even if you give it a C.
So I gave some
because it's nowhere.
Okay, and
nobody acted as bad as this.
I'll give it a solid C plus.
Okay.
I'll give it a solid C plus because it was enjoyable and the Punisher was awesome.
That's what I mean.
They did it, but it wasn't at the level of season 1. So okay, I take it back. I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah, because I think you're putting it in comparison to season 1.
I am.
But if you're putting it in comparison to them all,
oh yeah, then it's different. But season 2 should always, to me, add upon a lot more than just one.
And that's
person.
probably also why you're probably bringing it down lower.
I get you.
That's why I'm giving it a B, because if you take it on face value and you're not taking it on based on season 1 or in comparison to season 1, or let's say without the knowledge of season 1, you know what I'm saying? I would still give it a B. Now this Iron Fist is a straight C minus, and I feel even bad saying that because again, all of the supporting actors
were amazing.
Were very amazing. There was no issue with that. So, that's why I'm saying with that. I do want to briefly touch on how you think they're going to tie this all together for the Defenders.
That's a great question. Thank you. I think it's all clear. I think what's going to happen, some kind of major threat is going to come, or
and the reason why I'm going to throw this in though, because we have to take into account where everything has ended.
In each of the seasons.
Luke Cage is in jail.
Yep. So he's on his way to jail.
But she said no. She got a letter
That
in
he was
this
in jail.
one from him in jail.
Yeah, that's true. You've read that letter several times.
So that's my point.
Okay.
Is you have to explain Luke Cage getting out of jail.
I can do that.
You got to explain Iron Fist leaving his determination of Kung Lao, or you have to tie that in.
Okay.
You have to tie in Jessica Jones, who doesn't want to have anything to do with Luke Cage, and Luke Cage doesn't want to have anything to do with Jessica Jones.
I got you.
And Daredevil, who's trying to figure out what the fuck's going on in Hell's Kitchen with Fisk, and just the introduction of the Hand.
I got you.
We know the Hand is going to be the tying lynch to all of it.
Yep, I got you.
Okay,
Hold on, let me
go.
get. So with Luke Cage being in jail, somehow it's gonna get across. What's Daredevil's real name in this? I don't remember.
Murdoch.
Huh?
Murdoch?
Murdoch's destiny, that whole little destiny. He's gonna be like, I know he's a free man, and he's gonna work to get him free.
But
and
Rashad, you have to take into account he's a lawyer in New York, not in Atlanta.
I know. I don't know how
he
that
has to pass the bar.
Something's gonna happen where he gets transferred out there. Maybe that's where one of his crimes was, or something like that. Or they always move is he's gonna get switched to Hell's Kitchen.
That's my point is though he was in Harlem.
I know he's gonna get switched to Hell's Kitchen.
Being arrested in Harlem, and they moved him to Georgia.
And I think they're gonna move him to Hell's Kitchen somehow.
If they did that, to me, that would be a reach.
Why?
Think about this.
Jessica Jones was in Hell's Kitchen, right?
No, yeah, but think about this logically. From not in a real world,
it's gonna be one of those crimes that happened while he was in Hell's Kitchen.
It does. This is my point. By logistic wise, the crime that he did in Georgia
is
higher, and was prior.
Okay, I agree.
So if whatever scenario you're putting in that regard,
possible.
He would have to be tried in Georgia first, because that one precedes.
I'll get you how it's gonna happen.
And he already left. He left jail.
And how I'm gonna get you? It's gonna be the Hand moving him to Hell's Kitchen so they can do some kind of experiment on him. They're gonna find out about his power, like they normally do. And since they always have their main primary places and stuff like Hell's Kitchen,
but don't the Hand have what's his name?
Who?
His brother.
But his brother doesn't actually have his power. He just have that suit, remember?
But that's my point is, if they have his brother and they have the doctor, why do they need Luke Cage? And the doctor has... See, I'm just playing devil's advocate
because the doctor does have the... He has the know-how how to, but...
He has the formula.
But they destroyed the formula.
No, he didn't destroy the hard drive. She told him to, and he just threw it. He didn't break it, and then
let me finish.
And then the guy
possible.
went and picked it up, and then the last scene on Luke Cage is them closing. Well, not the last scene, but the last scene that you see that doctor is him closing the door with Luke Cage's brother laying on the bed as if he's going to do the same experiment on him.
Let me finish though. Let me finish.
Even though you got a hole in your defense right now. I'm gonna say that is out. You can continue with whatever else you think could happen with the rest of the characters.
Jessica Jones gonna get in because they're gonna hire her to be a private detective, potentially on Luke's brother. Because remember, like as a private eye. Let me say my things. It may happen, and then Danny's gonna get involved because the serum they need or the experiments they need, the Rand Industries was supplying the products.
That is the only logical. That's the only thing that you said so far that
and
actually.
Watch when it happens.
No. Not all of that makes sense. No. I'm not even giving you all of that. The only thing that I'll give you makes sense is that Rand Industries might have a hand in either the serum that creates superheroes, like Luke Cage,
I'm telling you,
or that Rand has drugs that.
Okay.
My thing would be Hand is going to distribute the drugs into Hell's Kitchen, and that's how they'll get Daredevil involved. Okay. Then because they already showed the Hand in Hell's Kitchen. I'm gonna
revise it in one way. Claire is gonna reach out to Matt Murdock for the case, and he's gonna take the bar in Georgia, or there's gonna be some way where he can represent Luke Cage, and then through that, since he doesn't know that Luke Cage knows Jessica Jones, he's gonna hire Jessica Jones to be a private eye, and somehow I don't know what for, but for some reason. And then Claire's going to find out like, oh, you remember those special people I told you about? This is another one. So that's going to be them. And then Rand Industries and they all get involved that way.
I think you're close, but I think no.
Okay, let's see.
What I think you're right about.
What do you think?
I think you're right that Claire is going to go to Murdoch and say, this is a case in Georgia. What can you tell me about it? Do you know any lawyers in Georgia that can help me with this case? That's how he's going to get involved. He's not going to go to Georgia and be the lawyer there. I don't think that but at that point,
But he'll go there and be Daredevil.
No, I don't even think he's going to do that. I think he's just going to. That's how they're going to introduce Claire and introduce Daredevil or Murdoch to Luke Cage, or knowing about Luke Cage. He won't know about his powers. All he'll know is about the case, and then that's going to get Claire back to the Daredevil. Murdoch's going to then say, "Well, I need more information. Based on this, it looks like they have a solid case." And then she's going to be like, "Well, I'll get more evidence." She's going to then get Jessica Jones to go to Atlanta to get more evidence. Because she doesn't know that Jessica Jones knows Cage, does she?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. So Jessica Jones is going to be like, "No, I don't want to do it," but yada, yada, yada. She's going to talk her into doing it. She's going to go to Atlanta and she's going to bust out Luke Cage.
Okay.
She busts out Luke Cage. I don't know why, but she's gonna find out that something's going on shady, and she busts him out because she cares about him too.
Back to that whole tie that they're gonna be together eventually.
Exactly. And then they go back to New York. Then that's how she goes to meet Claire, and then that's how they introduce to Daredevil, because Claire's gonna be with Murdoch trying to figure out how to get him out of that case. There's the 4 right there.
Let's see.
And then something with the hand is going to trigger them to have to go to Danny Rand, because
I think it's going to be
it's
like
gonna be the heroine.
I
think it's going to be. I don't even think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be the heroine.
Think it's going to go back to the heroine? I think the heroine was just a tester. I think because Gal's always, her concept is always, again, she's another power person. But why would she want to? Yeah, but the heroine was about making money, because they were distributing that to everywhere. And I think, but I think that the chemical, because think about it.
I don't think they want to make that public like that.
No, I think that the person and the chemicals behind it is not just because in many parts in comic books they've made the superhero serum, like they'll water it down or they cut it with something to make it some kind of drug that people get addicted to, and I believe that's probably like the beginning of that concept. It would go from that, and then the real premise behind the whole thing was really to make superhero serum or some kind of thing like that.
I don't think so.
We'll see.
I don't, because that doesn't make sense.
How not?
If you're trying to make something that you're trying to keep for yourself, you never want. No, you're saying that the drug is been watered down to help make this.
Because remember, it was like the Biron ever.
Yeah, but with any pharmaceutical drug ever made, they're not giving that out in mass doses to anybody if they think it has something that they can find valuable that they want to keep to themselves. Makes no, because if the more you put it out in the population, the more likely somebody else finds out that it has a property of something that they need.
Not when it comes to the hand.
Yeah, in any chemical structure. What are you talking about? If there's an epidemic of people getting addicted to heroin, what do you think?
Eventually, you get a serum from. I'm saying,
just in general. When you go to the hospital, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to run your blood.
Draw your blood, yeah.
And then they're going to determine what was causing it, and then they're going to study that shit.
I'm not disagreeing.
So that I'm saying your chances of getting caught are higher. Why would you increase your chances of getting caught? That doesn't make sense. I just
feeling about it. I'm like,
to me, it's more about they were doing that to get the money. Just for the because as I kept on saying is leaders don't rule the world anymore. It's industries. If we get control of an industry that has this much control, this much power, and we continually make it get more powerful, we then rule the world.
And they did have multiple banks under Rand Corporation.
Yeah, remember? And how they had that map of in almost every country and how it spreads. That's what I mean. Is like, I think they're doing that for the money. And then once they consolidate the power, if anybody challenges them for that power, they have the superheroes that they can make with their superhero serum
that they could have been
to stop it. So
okay, I like that too.
The Defenders, whatever, because this is still the Marvel universe. But if the Avengers out there, if they trying to challenge us because they know there's people out there with powers,
we have our own. We need. Then there are a lot of comic books too.
And so that's why I think where it's going is more of that.
Do you think the Defenders is going to be about that particular kind of fight or something else?
I think that they're going to find out that. I think it's gonna something with a superhero serum is going to go either really wrong, and it's gonna make a hero that they can't control. I mean, not a hero, a villain that they can't control that then assumes the power, and then that's gonna be the ultimate thing that Defenders are going to try to bring down. And
do you think the Punisher will be in the Defenders?
No, I think he might. I think he might be a
because he comes out this year.
I think he'll be
in before Defenders.
I think he'll be a character that does pop-ups and does crossovers in the Defender.
Oh, okay.
like he did in Daredevil, but I don't think he'll be a main staple or even a permanent fixture in the Defenders. I think he'll just be a bystander. You know, they might have a difficult, kind of like how Spider-Man was in the Avengers. He's quote unquote is an Avenger, but not an Avenger.
Yeah, they call him for one thing, never.
Yeah.
Don't do it again for like hella long.
Exactly. I think it's gonna be like that with the Punisher. Like, you know, ratings might go down. They might run out of ideas for something, and they're like,
with that, do you think
how can we beat this?
The Punisher show is gonna be good? Like, really? Like, since we all talking about the future with this, do you really think the Punisher is gonna be good and interesting? Just curious.
It really depends on the writers, because I think the actor himself, I think he's a good actor.
Right.
My first introduction of him was in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a real good job in that. And the character he plays in Punisher is similar, but to a different extreme. And I think he did it really well as well. So I believe whatever they throw at him, I think he'll be able to handle. But it all depends on the story and the writing. Okay. Because I can see it easily going to something we've seen a million times. Because he really doesn't have any powers. Yeah. Well, he doesn't have any powers at all.
Yeah, he's just that like guns and really good at killing.
And his willpower is so strong that pain doesn't affect him like normal people. Yeah. But there's nothing
like the perfect
special.
Soldier.
Yeah, but there's nothing necessarily special. So there's going to be certain scenes that can get either forced or exaggerated that don't fit into the realistic world that he has to live in. Mm-hmm. That might make it either boring or, like I said, something you've seen before in another movie. Or
to me, I'm worried about it falling into the same kind of category as just an action movie.
That's what I mean, or
action TV show,
and
that's all it would seem it can be.
But that's what I'm saying. I think it can easily fall into that trap. Yeah. But I think with good writing, as well as good direction and creative thinking around that, I think there's ways that can make it interesting.
I hope, because
I think there's ways to make it interesting, especially if you can. The key for that is to not to have to heavily rely on the action.
What then? You're talking about like a compelling story?
That's what I'm saying. And it has to be so compelling that the action scenes that you do get can be realistic for him, but still be action enough that the storyline carries you through those scenes.
But the part I'm worried about, it can't really be a complete origin story, because as well, the whole last season of Daredevil was basically mostly Punisher. So they can't really start off when he lost his family, because they've already showed his progression from then.
They can go before that.
You think when he was an assassin?
They can do a prior origin story, or they can do...
Right after he got out from Daredevil?
Right after he got out from Daredevil, and him figuring out the past. Because remember, he still had a lot of questions. Yeah. So it could be more of an action detective movie or series, because he's trying to find stuff, and he's going to be violent in finding it.
I just have serious doubts about it.
So yeah, I definitely understand your resonance of it because of the things I said. I can see it falling into that trap, but I have faith that every story that we've gotten so far, they've thought out very well. Like, they thought this out well. He just didn't. Iron Fist. He just didn't. He pointed to the projector, and we're watching Iron Fist.
Yeah.
So out there, and like I said, the storyline is fine.
Just the acting bring it in.
So, and that's why I say, if the Punisher's only fear is if they do the opposite, because they have a good actor in Punisher.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So if they can keep the story writing to at least this level of Iron Fist, which is the worst of the three, they'll be fine.
I like your optimism.
No, I'm very indifferent at this point for Punisher. I just know like I said, I'm just going off their history. They haven't shown me anything different, so I have to go with the information in front of me.
Go by the history you see.
But let's wrap this up. Iron Fist is worth checking out, I think. What do you think?
I agree.
I still say, if you haven't checked it out, and guys, I want to apologize because we did have a Luke Cage podcast. It was really good. Just some things happened that we hope maybe one day it will come out, but it's at this point it's been so long. So I just want to apologize for that. I do want to say in that podcast as well, we did say some things for Matt's father, who F and Maddie, one of our podcast mates, father passed away, and we put that podcast out for him as well as our Uncle Mark, who also passed away from cancer, because we thought that was a show that he would like, that was very much in the vein of to me who he was. So the fact that I didn't get that podcast out does sadden me, but I'm here to say the same things that we said on there so that the world can hear how we felt about him, and that was dedicated to him. And so in light of that, this podcast will be dedicated to those two. So again, the Stay Woke podcast, our motto is listen to some great music in the vein of this podcast, which I'll do for the other movie podcast. Listen to some great music, watch some great movies, and above all, love more. This was for you, Uncle Mark.